Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Makers Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. El, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have actually one of our role model leaders, one of our experts in the community that has been there and supporting us in many different ways. Amazing human being. It is my pleasure to introduce to you guys Timothy Stuetz. Did I say that correctly, Tim?
You did, and I'm so delighted to be with you.
Very good. Awesome. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Timothy, can you tell our audience members a little bit about yourself and what you do and why this is something that they should stop multitasking and pay attention to?
uh, what I do, it's multitasking. It's multi programs. I write children's stories, children's fairy tales, which is my absolute number one love. And today I just finished writing number 192, which absolutely amazes me. And in addition to that, I've been teaching and practicing multiple forms of meditation, qigong, tai chi, and Reiki and other healing practices for over 40 years. So one of my other loves is to teach parents and also teens those practices so they can empower themselves and go out into the world and empower others with them.
Cool. So, how did you get involved doing these? Because it's not, I mean, I know kids want to do martial arts and stuff initially. Is that how you got started, or how did you get started?
um, I got started in the Tai Chi and Qigong by starting with meditation, which I just happened into. I've never gone looking for anything, Dr. Els. I'll just kind of fallen into my life when I needed it. And usually because of some drastic change, I needed some trauma. So I found a meditation path. And out of that meditation path, I discovered Reiki, which was hands-on energetic healing. And then because my body broke down and I knew it needed some form of movement, and I'd been practicing yoga and I got a message to take Tai Chi. So I took Tai Chi, loved it so much, I decided I wanted to teach Tai Chi instead of yoga. And that just led to learning more and more Qigong practices. So that's how I got involved with all of that 40 some years ago. And about the same time, I owned a chocolate shop, and one day in the chocolate shop, I received a box of teddy bears I didn't order. And anyway, it ended up with me creating an adult product that had a teddy bear in it and my adult social or my poetry related to adults and things that are happening in society, nothing for children. My mom looked at the combination and said, I blew it. I should have written a children's book. And I was like, no, mom, I don't write for children. But 6 months later, the first idea came in, and literally they haven't stopped.
That's awesome. So, so let's put it this way. First of all, how many books do you have currently?
192.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You could practically have your own library, basically.
It
That's
is. In
awesome.
fact, I've actually put them together in a library for families because it's about the only way to get them out into the world. And it's really interesting. I'm right now, I'm in a creative streak, almost like I was when I first started writing them, because I think in the past 2 weeks, I've written 13 stories.
And is there a common theme or a thread that you see through these books over the years?
The common thing is inspiring, educating, and entertaining children and families. And they basically cover the breadth of my life experiences with all those things that I shared, including being a father and being a CPA on top of that and business world. And so everything kind of gets integrated in there, really to help children and parents achieve their full potential mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
And you are a multifaceted person. I know you've hosted summits for our community, and you've done a number of programs with us as well. So, where is your focus currently, and what is your message for parents today?
my focus currently is getting these children's stories out into the world. And my message for parents is to be present with your children and do whatever you need to do to learn what the developmental stages of children are at and know your child and what they need in this moment and be present for them. I think the main thing for parents, and when we're not taught how to be parents, and we're thrown into this this game, or as the Beatles would say, a magical mystery tour without much help. And I know your parent owner's manual is a wonderful guide, because I've always said, we should have owner's manuals for children. We should have these guides. And they're out there, but we're just not taught how to find them. And when we know how to relate to children and other people, it makes life so much more harmonious as a family, with our loved ones, the family of our community, and the family of the entire world.
So, based on your experience, what are the common themes of challenges, issues that you see children and families face? That oftentimes they either come to you or you think would be very relevant for them to read the books.
With 192 stories, there is not one thing that is not covered somewhere multiple times within those stories.
Mhm.
They really educate children about specific things, plus they teach parents and children look at things from different perspectives, no matter what it is. And I can't give specifics because they literally cover everything. And the way they're written, they help children and adults generate their own creative process and literally tune into their inner self and get the answers they need. I don't, it's magical. I had a couple one time, a friend of mine, an Ayurvedic physician. He was working with a couple for 6 years, and they were trying to conceive a child. And they tried everything with him, with medical professionals. And finally, he called me up and said, I've been working with these people 6 years. Would you meet them? So I met them. We talked for 2 hours. And in that discussion, I just heard why they couldn't have a child. And I shared that with them. And I did a little bit of energetic work. And 2 weeks later, they conceived. Now, I don't know how that magic happens. I just know it happens. And same with reading the books. I learned from my books. Even today, the idea I got this, I promised myself I wasn't going to write a story today. And then an idea popped in. And then it evolved into something that I never even anticipated when the idea popped in. So I find it quite magical, and it's keeping me young at 73 years of age, because my mind is still creating things and seeing connections that I've never seen before.
So you talked about earlier about being in the moment, being present with their children, and for the children to actually be present in their childhood. And I think that's part of that whole creative process, because creativity, you have to be in the moment. If you're worried
Yeah.
about the future or the past, the creativity is gone, basically, right? So it's important for us to do that. So what would be your advice for parents, first of all, to role model the behavior of nurturing that creative side of themselves? Like, what are some of the things that you tell them to do? What would be your advice for them in supporting their kids to do the same?
Um, Fairy tales are for all ages. I would suggest the parents literally just read the fairy tales to the children, because it will open up the creative sides of everybody, the listener and the reader. And one of the simplest things people can do to focus their mind and control it is literally repeat some word. Some people call it a mantra. It it can be the word peace, love, whatever form of God you worship. Um, your child's name, your beloved's name. Just repeat it over and over instead of thinking. And when we repeat the same high vibrational, loving word over and over, our mind becomes quiet. It literally attunes back into the source of where that love comes from. And it takes just a little bit of practice, but when you find your mind going off into never land, it's like, no, bring it back to focus. And
You mentioned a really important point here, because if you're talking about energetics, you carry a certain energy and a certain creative process. You put it into a book, and that energy is in the book. So the moment that, as you mentioned, if you read that to yourself or to your children, you recreate or bring that energy back out, basically. And your energy, your creative process now resonates at the home with the parents, with the child that this is being shared with, basically. So in that sense, you are bringing that energy into the home environment and you're nurturing it. And as we know, you do anything over and over again, you get better at it. So you come better at the creative process and the energy.
you've summarized that very well. And when I started writing these children's stories, again, the first one just came in. And then I just happened to meet certain people that were human experts in human development. And I studied other things. And in my working with people over 45 years, I've learned how every word, every look, every action, every thought is important. So when I create a story, I go over it after it's written many times. So I want every word, every sentence, every paragraph to have a meaning and a flow. Because when people read books, any book, they're reading them because they want to know what happens next. So they're paying attention. And if there's a flow there, they'll get into that flow. And like you said, they'll adopt that energy. And I told a friend of mine who I listened to a program she gave on clearing generational traumas the other day. And she's been doing this work for 15 years. And as I was listening to her do this, I literally felt that she has embodied it for so long that every word she said carried an energy that was actually helping to affect the clearing she was teaching. So you're right about that. It's like that energy carries forth and people receive it.
Beautiful. Okay, so my question, and by the way, one more thing that I forgot, just reading in itself to children is really important. Not only for them to hear your voice as a parent, which is a soothing process to begin with, but also the fact that language and learning and vocabulary and all of those things are also part of the education. So you hit so many different birds with one stone. Not that I like to hit birds with stones, but that's
And
but
especially when
that's
especially when the stories rhyme, there's even more interaction that takes place. And yes, that's a bonding time that is unparalleled. And it's also a time that children can relax and feel really safe and comfortable. So they might share things with you that they wouldn't share otherwise. And things in the stories can they're sharing on with inside of them. So you can really learn things about your children that they might not tell you otherwise.
perfect. So, Timothy, how can people learn more about your books and find out more about all the different wonderful things that you do?
They can visit my website at www sometimes you need Timothy Stuetz, my name.com, which is up on the screen below my name, and it'll also be in the chat window.
Wonderful. So, guys, I want to make sure that you take the time to go to the description box below and check out. Timothy has actually provided many more links for you guys. So, make sure that you benefit and utilize those and check those details out. Also, role model the behavior for the kids that it is okay not to have all the answers, that it is okay to ask for help, that the world is not a scary place, that's reaching out to people who actually want to make the world a better place is a good thing, and that we all need to connect and support. That's how civilization was built in the first place. And also, if you haven't already done so, make sure you click subscribe and join our channel so that if we have experts like Timothy join us, you can benefit from their messages, you get notified, and you can also get their gifts and the resources that they provide for you. Timothy, before we go, I know this is we can talk at length about many different things that you do, but any final words for our audience members today?
I'm just laughing. I'm laughing right now at the synchronicity because when you started talking about not having all the answers, that was literally an idea I got this afternoon for my next children's stories about getting answers. So I,
Very
I
cool.
just think that the synchronicity is wonderful with you. And when people are in that moment that you're talking about, those answers appear and life really becomes magical.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So thank you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time. Cheers.